Check. Give me a heads up if you can hear me. I'm running two computers at once. So, oh, nice. That'll be great, Shaman. Yes. Hello, hello. Nice to be with you all. Get the mint out of my mouth. I'll be able to talk better. Ah, this shirt is funny. Look at that. Look at that. And when I lean back, it looks like it's black. That's the camera doing that. I've got it up. Ivan. Hello, hello. Tito. Juriali. Let's see if we get Ivan a wrench here. What did we do this week? We did ick. Funny stuff. Wonderful. Thank you, Bird. I've just hooked up a new computer. That's a gamer. It's a used gamer's computer. So it's kind of high powered. Got a great graphic card in it. It is 5:44 here in the evening. It's on 5:44 Sunday evening. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I'm very proud. Very proud of my editor. My editor is a young man in India who is just amazing, just really amazing. I am so proud and happy to have him on the team. Leo, well, you ain't alone in that, Leo. Not a bit of it. I've done more stupid things. I've done things so stupid that I'm ashamed to talk about it. Paul Cohen, New York City. Sue Stanley's in South Carolina. I gotta get the right mouse here. I'm running two computers. I'm switching over to a new computer, and I don't altogether trust it yet. So I'm running two of them on two monitors. Pedro Samoys. Nice to see you. Purge, Fish Fan Link, Tracy Sanham from Sanham from the UK. Let's get Tracy a moderator. Wrench. Everybody gets a wrench around here. The Lonely Shepherd coming in from Connecticut. Just watch your video about Florida law throttling the aquarium industry. It's going to get a lot worse. There is now, for the second year in a row, a federal law that its backers are trying to put through that will create a national whitelist. That will mean only 100 of the 30,000 animals that are in the animal trade, minus dogs and cats, of the 30,000 animals in the animal trade, 100 will be permitted. The rest will be outlawed. And that's in a bill before the Congress. And it has a multitude of backers. I wonder why. Hadn't come up yet. When it does, we're gonna destroy it, and we need to destroy the politicians who are proposing it. because they are a bunch of tyrants. Absolute tyrant. I think they enjoy being called tyrants. The lonely. I gave you a wrench. Good. It hadn't come up yet. And I think I did Tracy, didn't I? I did. Tess. Tess. Billy Bob. Billy Bob. Hello, hello. Never saw the bluefish in the tank. Yeah, I've got a few there. Look at that. Look at the red one. That's a male betta. The blue is a female betta. I added some color this week. A friend of mine sent me a bunch of bettas. There's the blue one over here. That's a female. It's a red male. Pretty red male. It's a half moon. And I think it's a Dumbo, modified Dumbo. Pretty good though. Guppy, guppy. I don't have any female guppies. All of my female guppies, I get these incredible strains of guppy. Japanese guppy, Russian guppies. I got pairs. Big mistake. Big mistake. The females are gone. All I have is the males. So I guess I'll try to replace them. And then I think what I'll do is simply set up a guppy tank and just leave it at that. You put guppies in with anything else, and they do have a problem. Deb says if it involves fish, it ain't stupid. Oh, I don't know, Deb. I don't know. What will happen to the animals that get outlawed? If they're brought into the country, they'll be destroyed. If you already have them, you will not be allowed to trade them across state lines. You'll be able to keep them, but you won't be able to sell them or even carry them in bags when you move to a new state. That'll be outlawed. Well, there are so many things wrong with this. I don't want to get into it until it really is an issue because it's going to be all consuming and it's going to create the same kind of ruckus the last one did. Michael De Los Santos. Michael. Need to give Michael a wrench. There we go. We're getting there. And who else? Sally is happy. Can you talk about using spring water in tanks? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I'll tell you, the last time I had spring water was in 1969 or 70 when I lived in Frederick, Maryland, and I used to go out to the hillsides to a stream, a piped spring, and um, collect spring water. And I did use that in some of my tanks. Tiago, 100 Rialtos or something. Thank you, Tiago. Very, very kind of you. Do appreciate it. Yeah, I'm afraid you're right, Nomad Star. Um, it used to be that the lowest form of life was a lawyer. I think as a subcategory below that are politicians. I think that is easily the lowest form of life possible. Anyone who becomes a politician is doing so. I shouldn't ought to say this. If they're not doing it to embellish themselves, they get there rather quickly because the opportunities are just overwhelming. Let's see. I'm going to have a hard time keeping up here. I can see it coming. Better gone for the guppy fins. Well, they're funny, aren't they? Craig, I don't see it, says Fish. What is he talking about? Here we go. Try to go back and figure out what people are talking about. I need to stop doing that. The lonely. They're only going to drive species into extinction. Absolutely will. Absolutely will. Yeah, they'll be on the list. Anything. Here's the thing. I hate getting into this, but the the imbecile who wrote this piece of legislation, and he is an imbecile. He is a witless twit, a little prince who thinks himself a genius and just isn't. He just isn't. He's a fool. He's manipulated. Anyway, he wants to permit only those fish that are currently being traded in the largest possible numbers. In other words, the top 100 marketed fish. Now, that includes goldfish, it includes pacus, red-tailed cats, common plecostomus, and Texas cichlids. 5 of the most destructive fish in any ecosphere environment. Those will be permitted because those are being traded in large quantities. You know who's behind this? The big box stores, because that is precisely what they market. They don't market rare and endangered. They don't market difficult fish. They market the most common, the cheapest, and the most undesirable of all fish. That's what they market. And that's what will be permitted. And they're doing it to protect the environment. Doesn't that just give you gas? Like the classic red bettas, I do too, and that one is really, really spectacular. Ah, endlers. I need to get endlers. There is a problem. There is a serious problem, particularly with female guppies. They have a virus that has gotten into the production system, so that the fish that you buy that are coming off of farms, which is mostly what's available in big box. It is exclusively what's available in big box stores. They only market fish that are raised by the hundreds of millions a year. There's a virus in that population that causes particularly female guppies, but some other fish as well. Another one is the dwarf gourami. Dwarf gouramis carry the same disease. Extremely difficult to keep. Female guppies, extremely difficult to keep. Now, here's the trick though. Buy pregnant females that are close to dropping their babies. They will live 5 days or so. If they drop those babies, take the female out, and the babies will grow up and they will be fine. They're not affected by the virus, not at birth, not early on. It's contracted apparently over a period of time. In any case, if you will do that, you'll be able to develop a strain of guppies that will be healthy in your tank. Time to bootleg bettas. Yeah, it will be. I'm here to tell you. Tiago says, Father Fish, thank you for your teachings. I know it's worth me more than $1,000, but that's what I can afford for now. I'm setting up my first tank, and I'm going to do it the way you said. I gotta see. I'm just nosy here. Value up. Honestly. It's a rand. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. I got it. It's a South African rand. Can you do a video about how to keep discus? Well, I'm doing better than that, Manu. I actually have some discus here, and I'm working on them, maintaining them in a natural aquarium with very limited water changes. I've had them now in 2 tanks, moved them out of one into another, more or less by themselves. Um, I've done a 10% water change so far, and that is over a period of about 2 months. What's going on here? Mano Bastaro Iglesias. Can you do a video on discus? Yeah, I need to give you a wrench. Did I do that? I don't know. I did. Hillstream loaches. Yeah, I like them too, and I don't have any. I should get some. Pucko should not be sold anywhere. There's, I could tell. I mean, it's not a fish. It is not. I do, Gary. I do. You're hearing. I got a pair of canaries this week from a breeder just north of me, about an hour north of me. And I'm very excited about them. They're lovely birds, and they're chirping right now. But the male is a very classy singer, and we may get a drill out of him. We'll see. I've got them in a little tiny cage, a carrying cage. I ordered cages that were supposed to come yesterday. They didn't. Supposed to be here Monday. So these guys are hanging out in a little tiny cage for now. But I'll show you a little later. We get over there. Really pretty birds. Oh, what else? Madaka rice. I don't have any Madaka rice. I don't have outdoor ponds, but I do have vats and a bunch of them. And I just haven't gotten into the rice fish yet. It's something I need to do because I'll be able to keep them outdoors. And the Badakas are pretty desirable. The lonely, what's it talking about? Batis Daniel hybrids and dwarf golden barbs. Oh, $20 a fish. Amazing. Glenn Smith. Where is Glenn? There's Glenn. We need to give Glenn a wrench here. Andrew. Pair of dwarf Grammys from a big box store. They only lasted a few weeks. Got another pair from a private breeder. If you got a pair, you're a lucky man because pairs, females are not imported. There are some breeders. There was a farmer who brought in a box of females 15, 20 years ago. A Florida farmer brought in 1,000 female dwarf Grammys. And he's the only one who's done it. He was able to do it with special arrangements with a farm. And he began breeding them and selling them and providing females. He also was able to overcome, because he did that, he was able to overcome the virus. So there are some healthy fish, but the big box stores are not going to have his fish because they cost more. They're going to buy the cheap fish that come in from Thailand that have the disease. So you're not gonna get good stuff in a big box store. The place to buy fish, if you do not have a quality pet store, fish store near you, is either Get Gills or Aquabid. Both of which Aquabid is very big and rather well established. You need to be careful because there are trans shippers on Aquabid. You don't want to buy transship because you'll be running into the same problem. In addition to which, it costs a lot more. Buy from local breeders. Local breeders are going to have healthier fish. Make sure you check them out. There, you can do that. Check them out carefully and buy from them. Dan's Fish is a very good, very high quality provider here in the States. You will get quality guaranteed fish from Dan's Fish. I can recommend him for sure. And there are some others. He's not the only one. He's really the only one I've dealt with. Um, but look around and we'll try to get into that a little more. I'm hoping to be able to increase my tank space, which will allow me to get more of the exotics that I am looking for. Let's see, I need to get things put back together here. That ain't where I want to be. That's where I want to be. Johnny Best. Hello, Johnny. Nice to see you. Domita. What would be the best way to get ammonia and nitrate down? I added more plants today. That's the best way. The best way to reduce ammonia and reduce nitrates is with plants. That's what they do. That is their job. Danita said, I just started a new 30-gallon dirted. Bravo. Carlos. Cuevas. Tankmates for dwarf Mexican crayfish. Tankmates. A good tank mate for dwarf Mexican crawfish would be any kind of bass. They love crawfish. It would be absolutely perfect. The bass would be delighted, and the crawfish would turn into something worth having. Sorry, I don't much like crawfish. Give some advice about rams. You know, I need to do another ram video. I haven't done one in a while. I've bred rams pretty extensively for a number of years. I really got into it, figured it out, and was cranking out large numbers of them for, I don't know, 5 years or so. Yeah, I will do that. The first and most important thing with rams is you cannot have two male rams in a tank. One will kill the other. You can have multiple females, and you can have a male with multiple females. Sometimes. Sometimes the male will kill, the male and the female will kill the odd girl out. I have, however, seen a male breed with two females and maintain two tanks, two spawn at opposite ends of the tank. That was kind of extraordinary. Beyond that, the most important thing is temperature. They are like a discus. They're basically from the same water as the discus. They cannot tolerate water below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. What's that, about 28 centigrade? The warmer the better. 85 degrees, 29 centigrade is a good temperature for rams. They prefer to be in tanks by themselves. If you're going to do rams, get a pair. They're very easy to pair off. If you can't figure it out or find someone who can, we'll cover that. I'll do a video on them. We'll cover that. Basically, it has to do with the black dot in the center of the fish. This is the easiest way. A female has a field of stars. A male does not. The male also has a spike on the front of his dorsal fin that stands straight up. It's longer than the fin. And there are color variations as well. In addition to which, the male is more slender, female is heavier, female is smaller, typically. A lot of sexual dimorphism. Warm temperatures, keep a pair. Once they spawn, leave them with the eggs, leave them with the wigglers. As soon as the babies come off the bottom and start to swim, remove the parents or remove the babies, or they will be gone day 2. So there's the long and the short of it about rams. Micro worm culture is perfect food for baby rams, and then graduate in a week to 10 days to a freshly hatched baby brine shrimp. You can feed frozen, it's not as effective. Dry food will almost always result in substantial deaths. You really will not be able to raise them easily. Can I start rooting geranium in my tank? I don't know. Geranium. Don't know. I don't do much in the way of house plants in my tanks, and the main reason is all of my tanks are covered. I don't like fish jumping out, and I don't like water evaporating. So I tend to cover all my tanks. It means I don't get to grow some of the really wonderful stuff that comes up out of the tanks. Riddicky, Peter Jackson. The answer is yes. I have the proof in my tank. I don't know what the question was. I'll probably never find it. Vizier Trabzon. Hello, hello. See if we can get you a wrench. The Beast. How do you know when you have too many fish in the tank? Basically, when the quality of life begins to disintegrate, when there's too much aggression, basically it's that when there's too much aggression. When you start getting fish that are hanging in the corner with chewed up fins, when you find dead fish that are being beaten up, that's when you know you have either too many or the wrong kind. But frequently it's too many. Typically, however, the more plants you have in your tank, the more fish you can have. This tank is thick with plants, and there are over 100 fish. It's a 30-gallon tank. I've got over 100 fish. I could probably put another 100 in here. I would not do it. I certainly could put another 50. I have room for babies to begin spawning, for adults to spawn, and babies to begin hatching. I haven't seen any yet, but I fully expect to. I keep looking, but nothing yet. Rams would love Australia. Warm temperatures, that's the main thing. Love pandacories, I do too. Shaman, after move on, I'm going to try a vernal pool tank. Nice. Oh, that's nice. My favorite floating plant. Favorite floating plant. Probably Salvini. I don't know. No, Riccia. Riccia is my favorite floating plant. Absolutely. And it's hard to find. How cold can Formosa get? Formosa can get down close to freezing. Certainly in the 40s. They would have no trouble going into the 40s. They probably can survive freezing water as long as they can lay on the bottom. My opinion on saltwater tanks been seeing less and less. It's become a rich man's hobby, which is wholly unnecessary because you know what, Karan, do you have the link? Are you here? And do you have the link for the video I sent to you last week of the saltwater, the native saltwater tank? I don't have that link. I might be able to dig it out, but it's a natural native saltwater tank from a moderate temperature climate like New England, and it is absolutely spectacular. I've got one here that looks horrible, terrible. It's got a lot of life in it, but I've not been able to find really quality macroalgae, which is the key to being able to do it effectively. Yeah, flamingo, the canary is peeping, but he's not singing. Give us a whirl there. I can't get up there. Hello, from the Netherlands, from Doompie. We'll get that. I need to get that. I want to promote that guy. He's a brand new YouTuber, and he's doing some spectacular things. And I really do want to promote him. Patty's Aquatics. Hello. Patty, nice to see you. Patty doesn't have a wrench. Gonna take care of that right now. Edward Hill. What aquatic plants purify the water? All of them. All of them do. There are no aquatic plants that do not purify water. Patty swears by deep substrate. You betcha. Ooh, Vinoxky is here. Hello, Vinoxky. Nice to see you. Jungle Nook. Great to have you here, Jungle Nook. Null Wen. I was wondering about your natural saltwater tank. Excited it's doing well. How often do you do water changes? I have not done what. I when I can bring some new water in, I'll add it in and do a little change that way. It's beginning to bubble. I see. I went out collecting down at Acetig on Thursday, and I got a bunch of stuff, brought it back and put it in there. Nothing exciting. Some little crabs. Found one pipefish. Some calerpa, and that's about it. A little bit of macroalgae, and a bunch of shrimp. I think I lost some of the shrimp. Oh, I did get an oyster. Actually, I got two oysters growing on two clams. Here's the clam down in the mud. Here's the oyster perched on it, partway into the mud. I got two of those like that. That was kind of slick. I've got them in here. I haven't checked them. Put them in 2 days ago. Don't know if they're still alive. The fish are still alive. So, and I saw a lot of snails, and I saw a couple of crabs and shrimp. So, mainly it's doing okay, but it's not pretty. Eventually, I'll get the pretty one. My dog. Where is my dog? My dog is watching you, Father Fish, when you were talking to your canary. I can't do a canary chirp. How do you trill? Inhaling. I can't do it. All when. All is well. Yes, thank you. All is well. Voluntary. Are they toxic? Don't know what we're referring to. You're very welcome, Patty. Nice to have you here. Who is the new YouTube you said you wanted to promote? I don't remember his name. You can make me go look for it. I can find it, I think. Let me see if I can find it. I think I know where to look. All right. All right, let's see. I'm in the right channel here. Uh, and I might have the picture. There it is. I got it. I'll give you the link. How am I going to do this? There's the link. And it is called, oh, that's not the link. Honestly, I might not be able to do it. Jonathan Coldwater Adventure. That's not it. I think copy message slide. Oh, that's, I see. Copy text. Copy message. ID. Message link. Why can't I do this? Jonathan Coldwater Adventure. I can do that at least. There it is. Barack. Thank you, Barack. West Virginia Holly Girl is here. I got a story. I heard a joke today. And now that we got a hillbilly in the house, I gotta tell it. This is a terrible joke, but it just really grabbed me. Two hillbillies walked in a bar, and they sat down. They were drinking their beer, and having a good old boy's time. And when suddenly in the next booth over, a woman stood up, grabbing her throat, choking, obviously choking, and leaning over the table and in obvious serious distress. The two mountain men looked over to her and what's she doing now? What's going on? The other side. I know what's going on. I know what's happening. Let me take care of this. Ma'am, are you having trouble breathing, ma'am? You having trouble breathing? You want some help, ma'am? So he stood up and he walked over. He lifted up his skirt, her skirt, pulled down her pants, and licked her butt cheek. She gasped, totally freaked out, coughed out the food, and stood there gasping for breath. And he said, "You're welcome, ma'am. Happy to be of service." Pulled her pants back up, dropped her skirt down, went over and sat down at the table. His partner was wide-eyed. With never. I've heard about this here hind lick remover, but I never saw it practiced. I just thought that was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Oh well. It I shouldn't tell jokes I can't get feedback on. Oh dear. I think I just lost everybody. What happened here? We just froze up. But Deb liked Angel Ramirez. Need to give you a wrench. That's easily the funniest thing I've heard. Thank you, Sally. Il Utah. Namada Star. Be the arrow. Be the arrow, indeed. Give you a wrench. Barack. Paul Cardoza. What's a good tank make for a bucktooth tetra? Tank mate. You know, I don't. We'll have to get some feedback on that one. I haven't kept them. But tell my hubby that joke. That funny story. I told it earlier. I live on the eastern shore of Maryland. We don't have mountain men here. What we have is crabbers. We have crabbers and we have chicken farmers. And they're about equal to a hillbilly. They're good old boys. And the shore here is just full of them. Crabber, watermen, crabbermen, and chicken feeders. So I had a pair of watermen, pair of crabbermen come in to the bar, sitting there having their drink, and they worked pretty well. uh, Suggested low light plant. I'll tell you what, I have a bunch of Vallisneria, a clump of Vallisneria in with my axolotls. And all I have on them for a light is a gooseneck, a small lamp, a small light gooseneck, mainly because I don't want to put any heat in that tank at all. I've got it down low. I've had them in there for a couple of weeks, and the plant's doing fine. It doesn't, yeah, the canary's gone silent. Well, in the evening, they tend to chill. And I think one of them's eating. We'll hear more out of them. They're doing real well. I got to get them in a decent tank. I have a dragon puffer, angelfish, dragon puffer, angelfish, and red-tailed shark, and a pair of bristlenose. Yeah, you remind me of me. This mix all the oddball stuff. It works for a while, and then things start eating each other. The one that surprised me the most was when I had a 100-gallon tank, a tall, 3 foot, 3 foot tall. It was 3 by 3 by 18. Neat tank. I put plants in it that grew very tall. And that was cool. And then I put angels in it. I put a bunch of small angels and added a bunch of cardinals or neons. I don't remember which. I had like a dozen angels and about 40 cardinals. They were all young. And they did real well together. They kind of grew up together. And then I started noticing that the cardinals were disappearing. Really didn't understand it until it was down to about half a dozen. No carcasses, no dead fish, just disappearing cardinals. And then I noticed, splunk, the angels got big enough to be able to eat the cardinals. Prior to that, they ignored them. Once they got big enough, they were food. And so I never put cardinals and angels back together again. But, that's the kind of thing you learn by doing. You learn by experience. Ah, bought giant baby tears. Not able to push them in the substrate thin with real thin. Um, try to wrap them in some lead weights if you have any, something that'll weigh them down. You can put a small rock or some pebbles over them. You can lay them down like kind of halfway on top of the soil. If you've got a food web going, that's even better. Lay if they're I can't pull my hand backwards. Lay them down like that. Let them come up. Lay part of the stem on the bottom and cover it. Cover like a couple of inches of the stem with sand and let the rest of it come up. That way it'll stay down in there and it'll stand a better chance because the roots come out of every single nodule. Well, wherever there's a leaf, a root will grow. So if you'll do it that way, you'll stand a better chance of being able to get them going. Pet Supermarket gives you driftwood and a plant if attached. I got something to show you. Look at this little beauty. I'm selling these. I just got a box of 40 of them. Now, they're not identical. This is probably the nicest one. I'm selling these for $25 a piece. And you see it's pretty, that's about 12 inches. Well, maybe not quite. But it's just a great hunk of wood. Look at that. That's stunning. Beautiful thing. So I've got those. They're not listed yet. I've got little pieces listed. But I'm going to list these. They'll be up later today, first thing tomorrow. I've only got 40 pieces, and they'll be $25 each. But I will only, if I only have 20 really nice pieces, then that's all I'm going to sell. I'm not going to sell you something less than in quality than this. Not neat. Oh, why am I sneezing? Best way to deal with protozoa. The best way to deal with protozoa. I guess I don't understand the question. Feed it. Feed it. Put dry leaves in your tank. Feed it. It is the best food possible for your small fish. And it will maintain a healthy balance in the tank. That's Michael Morkel. I give Michael a wrench here. And Magid, Majed and Magid N. I'd like to ask you about my fish that become too thin, and after 1 or 2 weeks they die. They probably have parasites. Probably have internal parasites that are eating all the food they're eating. Feed crushed garlic. Crush some garlic. Now, when you do this, because it is not a food that fish are normally attracted to, they're going to ignore it. So you have to put it in there and not put anything else in. Give them only that, and they will test it out and try it and decide that they can eat it and they'll eat it. But if you put anything else in there, they're going to ignore it. So when you're feeding a special food like that, or any food for that matter, you want to get your fish converted to a different food, feed only that new food, nothing else. and be firm about it. It's got to be like a kid with broccoli. You sit there until that is eaten. And I sat there for an hour and a half, sick to my stomach out of fear of eating that broccoli. I never did eat it. I whooped them. I whooped them. I beat them down. They never fed broccoli to me again. Today I love broccoli. But of course I'm not eating it because I've decided I'm a carnivore. Oh well. Not enough room for all the tanks. Gonna have to ship the kids. Well, you need to do, as a friend of mine has done, and put fish tanks in every room in the house. He has fish tanks in his children's bedroom. Not just a tank, a rack of tanks, 20 or 30 tanks in each of his children's bedroom, his own bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen, living room, garage, you name it. 400 fish tanks are in his house. And probably 20,000 gallons are outside in his yard in large vats, ponds, and the like. Amazing guy. Try floating it. What? Okay. David. Bought giant baby too. Oh, right. Yeah, you could do that too. That's true. You could float it until it develops some roots. But if you put a couple of inches of that stem in the sand, bury a couple inches of it, it'll grow roots quickly, and they'll begin taking in nutrients. Well, the angel and red tail and flex came as freebies. I bought the dragon puffer. Yeah, I know. Anymore, I'm really not interested in fish that I can't spawn. Um, I mean, I've had a lot of fish that can't effectively cannot be spawned, and I'm just really not. I'm not into them anymore. I don't want them because you have them and 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 they die. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to continue the line, continue the genes, have some sense of an emerging population of those fish. That's become the main joy, I think, in the hobby for me. Why my Sessiflora cuttings stop growing after propagation? Typically because they will not grow until they have put down roots. Um, because the roots are the source of nutrient. So until they have roots, with rooted plants, obviously, until they have roots, they can't feed. If they can't feed, they can't grow. So they will put all their energy into roots in order to get the return. And what that means is that slows them down. They're not going to die. They will take in enough nutrients through the leaves and the stems to be able to sustain life, to not die. But they won't really be able to flourish. They won't be able to grow until they've got a root system. It may take 6 months to get that root system. Just leave them alone, let them go, be patient, and you will be rewarded. Would I ever put a mosquito fish in a reef tank. Mosquito fish in a reef tank. Mosquito. I don't understand the question. They're mosquito fish. My notion of a mosquito fish is a gambusi. That's what I call a mosquito fish, or that's what I call gambusi, is mosquito fish. Some people call Formosa mosquito fish. I don't. I call gambusia mosquito fish. Lots of fish will eat mosquito larvae. Virtually all fish will eat mosquito larvae, but there's one in particular that is every bit as obnoxious as a mosquito. That's the mosquito fish. So it's not that it eats it, it's that it's a nasty bugger. It's a freshwater fish. So I don't get what you're talking about, Reef 69. Tell me what you mean by mosquito fish. And I'm going to give you a wrench. And nice to have you here, Reef 69. Who's this? Rico? What aquatic plants do well in bowls? Stem plants. Stem plants do better than anything else in bowls. Anubias will, because it'll grow on hardscape. You could probably get crypts to grow in a bowl. What do I feed snails so they got no calcium? Um, so far, I haven't had to worry about it. I've got a lot of snails, mystery snails, but I also have ram's horn and pond snails, and they're doing fine. It hasn't been a problem. What I would do is I would add calcium, probably liquid calcium, to get it into the system. Um, because it's got to get into, it's got to be taken up by plants, algae, and so forth, in order for the snail to be able to ingest it. Beth Sands, getting interested in the Skittles shrimp who populate readily. Do you think putting a cuttlebone in the tank is a good idea for snails and shrimp to get calcium? It will happen, but only to the extent that it dissolves in the water column, because they're not going to eat it directly. It has to be taken up by by other animals in order for it to be metabolized. Once it's metabolized, then it can be ingested. Um, Prior to that, it just is kind of in and out. How to breed stiphodons? Well, they're brackish water fish. You can breed them, but you need brackish water to do it. I should set up so I should get stiphodons. That's a good idea. You know, I've got a brackish water tank here. I should put stiphodons in it. See if I can keep them alive, number one, and see if they will breed number two. It might work. Christina Duarte. Christina, give you a wrench. John Vlog. Hello, John. Scott Stegovich is here. Do I have a bird chirping? Yes, I do. Actually, I have two. I just bought a pair of canaries, and the male is chirping, but he's not warbling. He does warble. He just hasn't gotten it together yet to do it. Probably because he hears me talking. Probably if I shut up, he would warble. He's not used to having anybody around talking. They have to kill a cuttlefish to get a cuttlebone. That's true. Or eat it. You could eat it. Gambusia. They put Gambusia marshes and bogs around the Great Salt Lake here in Utah. Thanks for the wrench. I hope you're having a great day. We'll love for you to critique my reef tank. I will do that. Be happy to, Reef 69. They're putting Gambusia in marshes and bogs. Yeah, but see, they go into brackish water. They are in hard. I've seen them in everything. I haven't seen them in salt water. I have seen them in brackish water. And I've seen them in very soft water, like 5.0 salt. So they're kind of like a lot of things. They have a very wide range. I have found mollies in 5.0 water. Scout's honor. Kirsten Morissette, finally caught you live. Hi. Would you happen to know what plants Maurice's snails won't eat? I've been experimenting. Yeah, oddly enough, they will not eat, at least when I had them, they would not eat the Aponogetans. Figure that one out. The Aponogeton leaf, that's the bulb plant, are a very delicate leaf. And you would think they would be gobbled up, but apparently there's something very distasteful about Aponogeton leaves. I had Spixie, big ones, big Spixie snail. And that was the only kind of plant I could keep in there that they wouldn't gobble up. Are you able to use this as Shiona hack? Shiona. Are you able to use gravel instead of sand as a cap? And the answer is no. And the reason is that water flows at its natural current through gravel. It does not flow at its natural current through sand, at least not very deep. It may in the top quarter to half inch or so. Below that, it just gets stopped and it flows, but it more seeps than flows. And it flows really at the speed of the cilia on the microfauna that are spinning it along. So the point being, you don't want water flow going down into the substrate and washing out the soil. That's what the sand prevents. It does a number of other beneficial things, but that certainly is one of the primary ones, and is probably the reason I began using it in the first place, to prevent water bubbling in a filter, creating a minor flow from washing through the gravel and washing out the soil onto the gravel. Does not do that with 2 inches of sand. Now, the sand must be double the depth of the soil. If the soil is 1 inch, sand must be 2 inches. And the reason is that the soil will work its way up equal to its depth. Did you get that? Did you see all that? So if it's 1 inch, it'll work up 1 inch. which leaves you an inch leeway, you see. So you don't want 2 inches of soil and 2 inches of sand. It'll come up, it'll go through, it will foul the tank. 2 inches of dirt in a 10-gallon tank will destroy the tank permanently. It will not be salvageable. Oh, well, I shouldn't say will not be. It might take several months for it to be salvageable, but you don't want that stink in your house for 2 or 3 months. So, no more than 1 inch of soil in any tank less than 50 gallons. Beyond that, consult me. Greetings from Toronto. Hi, Cam's Aquatics. Nice to see you. Great to have you with us. Oh my. Bulb never grew. They don't always. What I found is when you get a bulb, put it in the refrigerator for a week to 2 weeks. Let it cool down. If you can find plant hormone, mix some of that in water and rinse it in that. That'll help kind of get it coming back to life. After it's been cold for a week or two or a month, put it in the dirt and it should sprout. In point of fact, if you do that hormone, that liquid hormone, in the water column, in the bag, in the fridge. Yeah, put it in a baggie. Don't let it dry out. Put it in a baggie with a little moisture in a refrigerator. You don't want it to dry out. Leave it there for a week or two and then try it. Who's this? Raphael is naming his fish. Weird name. Like Gowanna. Rafi. Tires? That's not all that weird. Wesley Stripes. The leporina. Cute. Oh, well, Angel, that's absolutely right. Walstead did the science. We're here because of her. We're also here because of Garf. We're here because of people 60 years ago who introduced soil to the substrate in saltwater tanks. What Walstead did was make the transition from saltwater to freshwater. And she did it not out of any knowledge of what was happening in saltwater, but out of a desire to understand what dirt does in water. And that's really where she still is today. She is still researching dirt in water. And curiously, I'm not. I'm researching how to separate dirt from water in order to get the benefits of dirt in an aquarium without having dirt in the water, if you get that. So I'm in a very different place than Dr. Walstead. Is it good to use rainwater? Somebody asked me earlier about saltwater. Didn't get around to answering it. Spring water it was. Rainwater, spring water to refill evaporated tank water. I want to say if you have a natural tank with a natural biosphere in the tank, if you have plants that are thriving, if you have a food web, a dirty deep substrate, if you've got all of that, then you need to replace the water that evaporates with the water from the source of the water to begin with. Because the nutrients, the minerals, are being absorbed out of the water. So you want to replace them. Now, there's a point in time at which that no longer is true. That point in time comes probably 3 to 5 years down the road. At that point, you need probably to do a couple of 10% water changes. And because you've built up the hardness, you cannot not build it up. It will build up. The point is, prior to that, you're getting more of it in living material. It's being pulled out of the water and being captured in plants and in fish and in microbiota. So it's being converted into that now. The further along you go with this, the more the total balance of the system begins to occur. And at that point, you have maximized the amount of minerals in the water with the amount of minerals in the living organisms, to the point where there ain't no room for no more. And at that point, you need to reduce the water minerals. And you do that simply by doing partial water changes. You can do it with spring water or with rainwater. You can also do it with the natural water. But you're doing water changes then. You're not simply topping off. So you're taking out 10%, replacing it with one of the two, taking it out. If you do that 3 or 4 times over a period of a week or two, maybe a month, you'll be able to restore that balance for another couple of years. Eventually, it needs to be done. This tank has about reached that point. The water is very, very tannin. Somebody looked at it and they said, "Your fish look sick." Well, they don't look sick. They look totally healthy. But they do look like they're in an environment that has kind of maxed itself out. They're not being stressed by it. But I think probably if I kept it going for another year or two, it would begin to stress the fish. It would become essentially like the Great Salt Lake or the Dead Sea. It would have too much mineralization in the water to be able to sustain life. So I prefer to add original water up to a point. At that point, you can begin adding rainwater or spring water in order to maintain their balance. That's the other option I have. I don't have a good source for that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a 10% water change. I was going to do it yesterday and didn't get to it. Refill it with the regular water, and then do it again in a week. And I'll do that 3 or 4 times in order to get those levels back down. And it probably will be noticeable in the color of the water. Yellow water, that's old water. Old water has heavy mineralization in it. It's not a bad thing until it reaches the point where it cannot be assimilated, where everything that can assimilate has already done so, and everybody is gorged with minerals. At that point, you've got to reduce it, or at least reduce the added inclusion of it, stop adding more to it. And the simplest way to do that is to reduce it gradually, slowly, down to a level where it can be brought back up over a period of a few years or so. So that kind of flies in the face of the notion that you can have a permanent tank and never have to do a thing with it. Well, no, you can't. No, you can't. It may go. It may go for 5 or 10 years before you need to do anything, but at some point you will need to do something. Now, what you need to do will not be draconian. Will not be take 50% of the water out and flush it, rinse it up and scrape it, scrub it down, beat it to death, and then dump a bunch of new water in. Won't be like that. Won't be like that. It'll be like take out 1 inch, replace 1 inch. A week or so later, take out 1 inch, replace 1 inch. Do that 3 or 4, maybe a few more times. You can measure it if you want to. It's not going to tell you much. I mean, it's hard to measure the hardness, the GH of fresh water. It's easier to measure the GH of saltwater. But you can do that. You can measure it and maintain it at a level below 500. That'll be perfectly adequate. That'll be nice hard water, but it won't be becoming a brackish to salt. It's a good to use rainwater. Yeah, good question. As to spring water, it depends entirely on the fish. If you have fish that can tolerate soft acid water, then you're good to go. You don't need to worry about it. If you don't, you can't. You can adapt fish. It takes a long time to do it. Weeks and months to adapt fish to soft acid water. Even if they are native, even if their ancestors came out of soft acid water, if like angelfish, they've been bred in captivity for 100 generations, you ain't going to adapt them back to their ancestors' native habitat very easily. Be-do. Sand has been a game changer, free from local river, and that's the very best sand to use because it's live. It has all of the organics in it that are needed in order to be able to sustain life. Renting Northerner has been using rainwater. You can do that. The difficulty is you're not going to be able to max out the development of the tank because the minerals will be sucked out of the water, absorbed by plants, and become part of the fish's bodies. And that water will simply remain softer and have less nutrients accessible to the growth of the plants and the animals. So you need to be replacing it up to a point. That point is the magic point, and everybody will see it in a different way. I've begun to see it here. I think the comment that fellow made just locked me in to realizing, yeah, it's reached that point. It's no longer clear, and I prefer clear. I don't prefer yellow water. So I want to get it back to a clearer water. For a long time, I didn't notice it because it wasn't growing algae. Now it's growing algae. Not much, a little bit on the glass. But it didn't do that for a very long time. And I can only assume it's doing that because there is more hardness in the water. I've been replacing evaporation with hard water, and I've been doing it fairly routinely. I don't have a good cover on this, but the end of it is not covered. And so I get evaporation. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I get it. So I've got to do more replacing than I would otherwise like to be able to do. I need to get another refrigerator shelf, and I finally got an address of a place where I think I can get some. So I'm going to try to do that this week. Wanted to say, plants, we got you at the class. You're doing great. You're very welcome. Were they a fish for you? Um, yeah, that was plants that I came around at the end and traded out for stuff. What did you trade, or did I just give them to you? I don't remember. Fish for you. Um, we took some plants to sell, sold a few, had some left over, didn't want to bring them back. So after the show was over, I walked around to all the booths and offered a bunch of plants for something in trade, anything at all. And I got some nice things. So it was fun to do. But at the beginning, and I think Fish for You was one, at the beginning, I just started giving away. And then somebody offered me something. Maybe that was you. I don't remember. But I'm glad they're doing well. Edward Summers, what do you use a fridge shelf for? As I use a fridge shelf to cover my tank. It is a perfect cover for a tank. I've got one right here. So this is a glass. This is a shelf, refrigerator shelf. It's tempered glass. It is filed. It's smooth, so it's not sharp. No sharp edges, and they've got this plastic ridge along the front of it, so it's safe. It's thick enough you can put stuff on it without breaking it. It's tempered. It's not going to shatter. At least it's not going to turn into shards. So it's a perfect glass to cover a tank with. You can put a light on it, and it won't. It's already heated. That's what tempered is. It's heated glass. So the glass is not going to damage it in any way. Not going to make it break. So it's perfect. Need to get more. THC Reefer is saying, get him a wrench here. I just set up a father fish setup, sand and dirt. Man, I could not be happier. The family really likes it as well. I want to say thank you for your knowledge and time. You're very welcome, THC. Happy that you've discovered it and that it's working out well for you. Here's, I want to throw this out. I made the comment last week or in a video that 90% of the people who decide to set up a a freshwater tank or saltwater for that matter, 90% of the people who decide they want to have an aquarium with fish in it will go to typically a big box store. That's where 99% of them go, to a big box store for their first tank. They'll buy it. They'll buy all of the stuff that they're told to buy. They'll spend, for a 10-gallon tank, $200 to $300 typically. Come home with all this stuff, put it all together, put water in it, put plants in it, put fish in it. They may not put the fish in that day. They may wait 2 days, a week, a month, but eventually they'll have fish in it. Probably won't put plants in it. 2 to 3 days, a week at the most, after they put them in, the fish are going to be dead. Or they will be so sick and so damaged that they'll be running to the store for medicine. Come back, dump the medicine in, kill the fish. They'll do that 2 times, 3 times, they won't do it a 4th time. They'll be done with it. I can't do it. 90% of the people who try to set up a fish tank fail. They fail utterly, they fail completely, they fail absolutely to the point where the tank is on the curb and they want nothing more to do with it. 90%. The reason the big box store allows that to happen is their customer base. And this is true whether it's a big box store or a regular high quality aquarium. Their customer base is new people coming in buying new setups and new fish and new equipment. Once that's done, if they are successful, they won't be back for months. Once they have got the fish in the tank they want, and then it will be years before they see them again. I ran a store for 15 years. I'm here to tell you that's the way it works. The number of people who frequent fish stores is a tiny percentage. It's the 10%. The 10% zealots who have got to see what the new fish is, set up a new tank for it, and are building their fish room. That's the 10%. It's not the 10% that are successful after the 90% who fail. It's only 1% of those. But here's the thing. A brand new fish keeper coming into a father fish store, learning how to set up a deep substrate, doing it the right way, the way they're instructed to do it, 90% of them will be successful, will be excited, and will stay in the hobby. 90% will stay in the hobby if their very first tank was a dirted deep substrate. Need I say more? And it doesn't have to be the father fish system, so long as it's something akin to the father fish system. I mean, you got to do it the right way. There are wrong ways to keep fish. I believe that having an inch of gravel in a tank or a bare bottom is the wrong way to keep fish because it's not stable. It's that's why people who have those tanks have to do water changes. They have to do it because the tank is so unstable, it cannot sustain itself. If they don't do it, everything dies. It is fundamentally an unstable, unhealthy environment that they were rescuing week after week after week to try to prevent everything from being killed. That's not a sensible way to keep fish, is it? Some people think it is. I think they're wrong because I think if they get sick and they can't take care of their tank, and their wife or child or friend is feeding it, and they're not going to do all that work. By the time they get well, if they're down for a few weeks, those fish are going to be stressed or dead. It's not a healthy way to keep fish. We're working on it, Chloe. We're working on it. Timothy Dawson, prune your plants. I don't, Timothy. Why do you prune your plants? And what do you do with the plants when you prune them? Your favorite type of snail to keep? Japanese trapdoor. I've never had a Japanese trapdoor. I've had apple snails and they eat plants, so I ain't into them. Oh, mystery snails. I like mysteries. I really like nearite snails. I don't mind the little white spots all over the place. They don't bother me. Nearites are neat. I don't know if I have any. I may not have any. And I'm not sure I can get nearites here in Maryland. Probably can. I just need to look for them. But mysteries I love. I've got them spawning. I've got babies everywhere. There should be some in here. They've spawned in here a couple of times. What in the world is this? Something floating. Looks like a bulb. I don't know what that is. What is that? Doesn't stink. Yeah, it's some kind of bulb that died and it's rotted out. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I can feel it. It's half rotted. Okay, little mysteries. They spawned in here. It should be full of babies. I saw some eggs. Oh, there's another egg cake. A second one. All right, that's cool. That one hadn't hatched yet. First one hatched. So we got a pair of them in here doing their thing. So it's going to be full of them for long. Aquario Marino. The book is coming. It's coming. I haven't done my part of it yet. I need to dig into it. There's several mystery egg clutches and a hatchery at the moment. Bravo, Shaman. Good job, Rico Diaz. Snails are related to octopi. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Snails are related to octopi. Okay. Can manage. Oh, never mind. Let's see. We're creating monitors here. What do you think of freshwater leeches coming in on plants? Um, the only case in which I am aware that they are a problem, the only instance in which I'm aware they are a problem, is if they are introduced into shrimp tanks that have exclusively shrimp, because the shrimp have no protection. Now, of the 100 species of leeches, there are only two that are actual vampires. The rest of them they feed on detritus and they feed on microfauna, on algae and other microscopic stuff. They don't feed on fish or shrimp. Of the two species that do, any fish the size of a guppy will eat them if they see them. The same is true of hydra. Hydra and these little vampire thingies, leeches, are almost never a problem in an aquarium because they get eaten up. Bettas are famous for eating them. But any fish that sees something crawling along is going to grab it and eat it. So it's not an issue. Sally is happy. Watch a video you set up for the lady in the nursing home. A lot of components of the dirt. Just got a 300-liter tank. shall I just buy aquarium soil? You can certainly do that. If you will go over to the show, to our Discord channel, and I'll get the link for that. You'll be able to get the recipe there. You also will be able to you can purchase the supplement, which has directions on how to create the soil, and it's not an expensive proposition to do. Let me get this link for you. Aquaria, visit your shop living in Venice. Aquaria. Yeah, I miss all the people. That was the biggest, most fun part about it was the people. Have you ever had Chinese alligator? Absolutely. They're a good cleaner. They get kind of big. They can get 3 to 4 inches. They get as big as a pleca. But yeah, they're fine. I like them all right. What shrimp do I buy? Neocaridina. Or I'll collect those shrimp. I collect shrimp. I've got a bunch now that I collected in brackish water. I haven't put them in my saltwater. I don't think they'd make it. But I could probably find some freshwater shrimp. I haven't gotten out and done much collecting yet. I'm hoping to be able to do more of that. And it's hard to find collecting places when I don't have anybody to point me in the direction of stuff. Just driving around looking, it's just really hard to find anything. Volcanics works. Can I make emergency containers for if my power goes out during the winter? If I'd had fish, they're going to make emergency. Yeah, absolutely. So you can separate them out. Definitely. Um, and what I would recommend is trays rather than tank tray. You don't need depth. You need surface space. If you got the little fish, uh, refrigerator drawer is perfect. You get a bunch of them. Shoe boxes, the plastic shoe boxes, perfect. Um, little tubs, small tubs. You don't need a lot of depth. You need surface space because that's where CO2O2 exchange occurs. Sketchy, yes, I only ship within the U.S. However, I do have, uh, I am setting up people in different countries. We have 3 so far, with a 4th in the works. We have someone in Canada, in the UK, who was able to ship to the EU, and we have someone in Brazil. Those are set up and operating. They're selling the substrate supplement and beginning to provide some other things as well. I've talked to 1 or 2 people in Australia. I would like to find somebody in Australia who's willing to take it on. I do not take any part of that. I will help get it started. I will promote you. I will send people to you, but it's going to be your business, your income, your money. You deal with it. I don't want any kind of kickback on it at all. I would like credit for Father Fit supplement, but that's really up to you as to how you deal, how you deal with it. Couldn't find the Discord. What was that? George from Venice. Oh my goodness. George, happy to see you. Thank you. Yeah, I remember you, George. So many wonderful people from Venice. Just really, really appreciated it. Thank you, George, for identifying yourself. Let's see. Oh dear. Raspberry Maculato was fairly uninterested in the Hydra I have as a food source. Um, Let it be the only food they have, and they will eat it. Don't give them anything else. If you want to get fish to eat something that they are not used to eating, you have to take everything else away that they are used to eating for them to even try it. They will not try it unless it's got licorice in it or something. Something that just zones them out, makes them think it's something that's not unique. Fish do not eat unique things. They just don't. They don't try things. They're not adventurous. In point of fact, it's just the opposite. They're very careful about trying anything new because it could be poisonous or it could injure them in some way. So they typically don't do it unless they're really hungry and there are no options. Then they will gingerly try it. Gingerly until they decide that it's edible and it's good, and then they'll be okay. But don't believe that fish love to try new things. The opposite is true. Fish do not love to try new things. Fish are have a built-in fear of new things. They will not eat new things. Now, you can trick them into thinking it's something they've already eaten, something they can trust by virtue of its taste or appearance or smell or in some other similar way. They'll go ahead and eat it or try it because they think it's okay. But if it's something genuinely unique, like garlic or like hydra, if they ain't never seen it before and they got plenty of other food, they probably ain't going to try it. How much water flow do you need? I have a 150 with 3 sponge filters. Add a power head. I would do that. I would. That sounds right to me. If you got pretty good bubbling with the sponge filters and a power head. A 150 is a pretty big tank. You could put another power head on the other side of the tank. Just have one at each end with the current going in like this. That's a good current to have because it will break down dead spots. You won't have dead spots with it. Couldn't find the Discord channel, Derpson. Try the link I just posted. See if that should get you there. John Haddon, best plants of first new dirt. Stem plants. Stem plants are best. Another thing you can do though is you can do Vallisneria, Sagittarius, or sword plants for rooted plants. But stem plants are they're the cheapest, the easiest. The package I have is really intended for new tanks, but do not expect every one of them to thrive. You got 16 different plants, different species of plants, 16 different species. You bought 15, I gave you one extra. Not all of them are going to make it. Most of them will. There will be some that will struggle. Baby tears is a good example of a plant that struggles to get started. It will eventually take hold, but it has shallow roots. So you need to get that food web going in order to get nutrients into the upper level, the upper layer of the sand, in order for it to be able to get nutrition. Otherwise, the roots got to go down an inch to get anything at all. Most stem plants will do that. They'll send roots down 2, 3 inches. Won't be a problem. But some plants, like baby tears, are just going to be slow and may not make it initially. Mighty Mike, hello, Mighty Mike, ranting northerner. Searching for help to save your tank will raise a red flag. Ranting, I hope you get noticed right away. If you get there and nobody notices you, read the rules. If you will read the rules, you will discover the secret code that will allow you entry into the rest of the channel. But if you will raise your hand and say, hey, I need help, you will be noticed. It might take a few hours, it might even take a day. We've got 200 to 300 people there at any one point in time, 50 of whom are helpers. Spread that out over the day. They can't all be there 24/7. We do have people from Europe and the Far East, India, who are there when people in the EU and the US are asleep. So there are people there 24/7. But there are 50 channels. You might not get noticed right away if somebody is busy or if everybody is there is busy. Just hang tight. Make sure if you have to go away, when you come back, check and make sure if you've been pinned. If you have or pinged, make sure if you have or if there's a direct message for you, then go in, you've got a contact. But if you will read the rules and find the secret code, you'll be able to get into all of those channels and you will find somebody to talk to pretty quickly. That's why everybody is told to read the rules. And I've decided today, for the people who think, oh, Shaw, I don't need no rules. I'm a good person. I don't need no rules. I know how to do things a right way. Well, you don't know how to get the code because it's in the rules. So read the rules. Started with a fish. Dab natural loam covered in a layer of sand in a planted aquarium with substrate was written about in 1939 by Francis Perry. Bravo. Bravo. Natural loam. Is there any reason your tanks are shallow? Yeah, the glass doesn't go up any higher. And I kind of like the tank. I've got other tanks that are taller. It's the only one that's really that short. Sammy. Uh, you like them that way, right? You like them that way. Pompadour Samurai. Sorry. Pompadour Samurai. How would you dispose of a dead fish? Oh, God, here we go. My 20-year-old goldfish died today. It's the only fish I ever owned, so I wanted to cremate for sentimental reasons. Cremate. You're going to cremate your fish. Well, how long has it been dead? If it's been dead for or have you put it in the fridge right after it died? If it hasn't started to deteriorate, you could scale it, gut it, and put it in the frying pan, and that would give it life forever. It would have eternal life. scale it, gut it, and put it in a frying pan. I know. I tell you what, I've done it twice. I've eaten red-tailed cat and I've eaten pacu, both of which were alive in my tank, but they were not my friends. I did not nurture them. They came into me. I had too many of them. We had a club meeting coming up. I said, here we go. So we did a wild animal banquet. I took them across the street to the Vietnamese restaurant, and they prepared these magnificent dishes with these two big fish. And I took them to the club meeting, and we all ate them, and it was wonderful. So I am teasing. I'm not at all being serious much. Oh dear, Jeremy Orton's of the Dawn. That's like eating puppies. I know. It is, isn't it? I know. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Was it teaching them a lesson? Put it in a decent box and bury it somewhere. Well, there you go. You can do that. You can do that. Ranting Northerner saying, thanks. I'm in the Discord and someone is helping me. Thank you. Rico Diaz, my most beloved fish, was a goldfish. The Black Helmet says, what? Shove it in the substrate. There goes Scott. Throw it in the fire. Read the fine rules. Firstly, thank you for your wisdom. This is Jeremy. Converted 2 planted tanks to deep substrate. 3 inches soil. What and 2 inches set. What issues might I run into? Just we'll all be in prayer for you. You've seriously overloaded the soil layer with a lot of plants and an older tank. I would add another inch of sand. It might help a little bit. 35 and a 15. Oh my God. So 3 inches of soil in a 15. I don't think there's any hope for that tank. See what happens. Pompadour. Don't eat your fish, Pompadour. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just being silly. Um, I don't know. There are a lot of ways to do this. You could certainly bury it. You could put it in a body of water, like a pond or a stream, and let it return to its natural state. That's probably truthfully what I would do. I would put it in a pond or a stream and let its body break down, disintegrate, and become more fish. Don't need no stinky tanks. There's Sammy. Hey, Sammy. Sammy's got a wrench. Mighty Mike. Let's see. Where are we? Of the Dawn. No, says Of the Dawn. No. Savage, right. Savage. Add a moderator. Make you a moderator there, Julio. Julio. Julio Cruz. I like that. Like eating puppies. That's it. I'm eating my fish when they die. You go, Justin. All right. Can McKeck, do you need to trim the plants or let them grow? Glad you asked. Somebody said earlier, trim your plants. I do not trim plants. And the reason I don't is because I let them grow. I mean, you can either let them grow or you can trim them. I'm not trying to create a sculpted environment. That would be the only real reason to trim them. Now, I'm not opposed to that at all. I think if you want to do that, it's wholly appropriate for you to do that. If you want that kind of a sculpted thing. I don't. I'm not interested in that. What I have noticed is that the plants will grow to a point where they will be stable. They will grow, they will max out like an old tree forest, an old growth forest. It maxes out. And the only time it grows new trees is when one of them dies and creates an open space. And then that open space sees new plants coming up. Otherwise, nothing new grows in it. And that's kind of what's happening here now. I've been introducing new plants steadily for a number of months. And I think it's about maxed out. What I've been doing most recently is pulling out some that I don't want in there and replacing them with some others. And I'll probably do some more of that. The valve, for example, I'll probably be pulling out valve. I'll probably put corkscrew in, if any valve. But I would prefer instead to have um, probably some other leafy plant that would not grow nearly as tall. But at a given point in time, it'll kind of stop growing. Now I've also got, but you get tremendous growth. It's not like it's going to stop quick or easy. Right now I've got a duckweed layer that needs to come out. Probably what I might do is a little bit of Salvini in there. I might change it out for Salvini or red root, um, and see if that will drive out the duckweed. It might well do. Sometimes it does. I'm trying to get Reiki up. That's what I'd like to get going in there. It's hard to find. I've got a couple little pieces, and I don't think they're doing anything yet. They probably have been chewed up. They probably aren't even in there anymore. I had some and I spread it out to try to get some going. So far, nothing. Mighty Mike says, Getula, what's best for hardwater spots on the outside of my tank? Depends whether it's spots or whether it's etch. If it's spots, take them off with a razor blade, wipe them off. Alcohol will get them sometimes. Do not use ammonia. Do not use glass cleaner. Glass cleaner has ammonia in it. And here's the trick with ammonia. Ammonia doesn't care about gravity. Gravity, what's that? You put ammonia on there and it'll go in that direction, and then that direction, and then that direction. It will go up, it will creep up the glass, and it will spill over into the tank, and it'll kill everything in the tank. Do not use ammonia on your glass unless you want to have a bunch of dead fish. If your glass is etched, and it can get that way after a long time because the minerals will burn into it. The only thing you can do then is buff it out. I have never successfully buffed glass. It can be done. It can be done, but that's what would be required. And Mighty Mike thinks you've had that answer often enough. But she's probably trying for a new answer. And I hope I gave one. Detective Elite Prime had a bristlenose 3 years old died this morning. Water temps fine, nitrate a little high. Do weekly water changes, any ideas? Yeah, weekly water changes. If you're doing weekly water changes because you need to do weekly water changes, then you have a tank that is a catastrophic tank. You have a tank on the edge of catastrophe as a permanent condition. Otherwise, you would not need to be changing the water. So your tank was not healthy enough for the bristlenose long term. He finally got old enough and tired enough to give up the goats. Hi, Emilio. How are ya? Jerry Ortiz. Are the easy plants of different colors? Good question. Well, there's some yellow plants. Some gold, some yellow. The red is tough because it's more light intensive, but the gold is not as. This is a golden bacopa, and that's okay. Here's something with red in it. That's a Ludwigia. The Ludwigia has red in it. You can do better with it. It's a matter of having adequate light. And that may mean light 24/7 for it to be adequate. Detective Prime. Okay, let's do this. How to make it more suitable. Running an F6 on 270. With matrix media, add 2 inches of sand on top of the matrix. 2 inches of sand on the matrix, and that will, believe it or not, solve your problem. That'll give you a balanced tank. It'll break down waste, and then add plants and keep adding plants until it's full of plants. Once you get that substrate in there, that sand capped the substrate, then it will grow plants. Cora says, yeah, the goal is to reach a point where you don't have to change the water at all, or at least not at all frequently. Rarely. How do you keep the lights on in that 33? I don't. It's a 12 and 12. It's more like 16 and 8. I turn the lights off when I go to bed, which is 10, 11 o'clock. I turn them back on when I get up, when the sun's up. Once the sun comes in the window, I turn the lights on. That's about 7 o'clock. So they're off for about 8 hours, which means they're on for 16 hours. Did you just become a mod? You did, Emilio. You most certainly did. And we're delighted to have you join us. Melissa, since going into natural tanks, I enjoy my tanks so much more. Keeping live foods is so rewarding. Thank you for sharing your vast knowledge. Love from New Zealand. Thank you, Melissa. Boy, would I love to get some of the New Zealand stuff. Mind mine. Set up a tank 2 months ago. Now diet time started. Suggestions, please. Add plants. If you have a deep substrate, you won't need to add any more of that. If you don't, add 2 inches of sand. Add plants. Slow way down on feeding. Try not feeding anything 2 out of 3 days And then on the third day, feed about half what you normally do. And they will go away. Scott says glass can be buffed or polished. Do not do it with a tank full of fish. Auto polishing compound, believe it or not, toothpaste and lots of elbow grease. Matrix is the stuff in the bottom, Sally. The stuff in the bottom is called a matrix. The matrix is what everything is in. The matrix is the matrix we are in is essentially air and moisture. That's our matrix. Other people, other matri would include our culture. That would be a matrix. In the fish tank, it would be the water and the soil. The soil would be referred to as a matrix. But the water could too, as could the plants. The matrix is the substance that we are in. Ever use the pink stuff? I don't think I ever have. Northern Ontario, hello, hello. Biomedia, right. Is the one order of microfauna from your store enough to get things going in a jar? Yes, it is. And what I recommend is that you divide it into a couple of different portions. By the way, I'm including a little bit of plant material with this because that seems to help things along. So you're getting some leaf mulch, you're getting a little dirt, you're getting in a small bag, double bag, you're getting some leaf material, you're getting some floating plant, and you're getting a little bit of stem plant. And then if I'm waiting for the seed pods. Once the seed pods start to fall, I'm going to be raking them up by the bushel, and you'll also get a seed pod, a prickly seed pod, no less. They're canaries. I have, Emilio, I just bought a pair of canaries this week that I'm real happy about. I'm not going to show you what they're in because you'll get upset. They're in a little traveling cage. I ordered a cage for it. It hadn't come yet. Supposed to be here tomorrow. So by tomorrow, they'll be in a very nice cage. Then I got to get a nest, and I got to get baby fish food, baby bird food, because we're going to raise canaries here. The Beast, Rafael Gonzalez. Oh, I don't know. Winning substrate supplement from your shop. When did you order it, Yvonne? The dirt will go out. Any orders that are in that have not been filled will be shipped out tomorrow. Any dirt orders. Plant orders will go out on Tuesday. So any order that comes in by Monday evening, if it's a simple plant order, like a bag of plants or dirt, that will go out on Tuesday. A more complex plant order will go out on Wednesday. And any orders that come in after that, after Monday, will be shipped Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, I don't have red factor. I've got a yellow and I've got a brown. That's the male, and he's a really good singer, is the reason I got him. But he's multiple colored. He's not a sun color. Hope they don't drive you nuts in the morning. Oh, I love him. I love him. Yeah, the red factor is a pretty bird. I see he had some, and I thought about it, and I decided I wanted to get a singer. I can get more. I'm going to get more. I just got this pair. I've got a system, four 4 cage stack. So I'm looking to get more snake plants in one of my tanks. Cool. Do I have any other pets? I have a pair of, I've got axolotls. I got a pair of axolotls. And I have a pair of hedgehogs. But the hedgehogs aren't doing anything. I've had them for 6 months and there they sit. I think it's an old male and a an old female and a young male. And she may not be capable of getting pregnant. I don't know. Male birds sing more when alone. I know they do. Master Unofficial. Give you a wrench. And we are at 8 o'clock. We have run the clock down. We have David Jenner, best floating plants for small tank. Best or most prolific. Uh, Salvinia is good. Um, Duckweed grows fast. Redroot is hard to do. It requires a lot of light. Justin the man. Had my tank going for 3 hours, he said. Last couple of months been having trouble with ammonia. 2 to 3 ppm in 3 weeks. Been watching your natural tank videos. Come on over to Discord to the show, Justin. Let's spend some time talking through this and see what your best options are. All right, my friends. We are at the end. Want to try doing the lake water additive? I'm scared. How should I go about it? Do it a little bit at a time. Just a little bit at a time. Just watch my swordtail fry number drop from 115 to 1 as of this morning. They all died gradually after being born 2 weeks ago. Probably inadequate food, Cam. It could have been disease. That's certainly possible. The most common reason, though, is inadequate food. Um, but it's hard to say. Again, come on over. These are the kinds of issues that we deal with on Discord to try to dig into these kinds of situations and figure it out. And it's usually not easy to figure out. I can throw things out off the top of my head, but more often than not, if it's a complicated situation like this, well, off the top of my head, it isn't going to work. It isn't going to help. You've probably been feeding microworms, which is a perfect food, or baby brine shrimp, which is a perfect food. So food may be the problem, but it is not necessarily the problem. So by all means, join our show, the Discord channel, with your concerns, your joys, your prayers, your hopes and desires, and your wish list. And we will all get to know each other better. Thank you all. Bless you all. Delighted to be with you. Brought frozen shrimp from my fish. Cooked and the raw both had salt and do not cook. Both had salt. It won't matter. You can soak them, but yeah, it'll be safe. That little bit of salt's not going to matter. Do not feed them cooked. Feed them raw. They need raw food, not cooked food. All righty, we're done. Bless you all. Love you all. Bye for now.